Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to Your City, Your County. And this is being recorded on December 7th, 2022. So the tax bills have just arrived, or will be soon. And we're very pleased to be talking to Scott Feldt, who's the Kewaunee County Administrator. Scott?
Bob,
good to see you
always
again.
a pleasure. Nice to see you again.
I was looking in the records, and I think the last time you were here was in January of this year. So it's good
we've
to
been
have
a
you
little
back.
busy with a few things. Plus,
really?
there's other things going on in the county besides just us. So yeah,
Okay.
it's great to be back.
Well, good. It's really good to have you. As far as the taxes go, that kind of brings up the topic of the county budget, which was passed, and I'm sure people are going, well, why did my taxes do this or that or the other thing? Maybe you could go through a bit of that with us today.
I can do a little bit, but mostly from the county standpoint, because again, when a person gets their tax bills, they're getting a number of different things depending on where they live. So if you see your tax bill, you'll see something for the school district that you live in. You'll see something for the municipality, whether that's a city, village, or town. You'll see the county, and you will also see the technical college district. Years ago, some may remember that there was also a state portion that was in there as well, but that's pretty much been eliminated. So depending on each of those districts or each of those taxing jurisdictions, perfect example is Algoma sets their own tax levy and rate, as does the county, as does the school district, as does the technical college. So each of those increases or decreases depend on those jurisdictions. So I'm going to talk specifically about the county.
Okay.
So for the 2023 budget, the county back on November 1st passed a $27 million budget. And reason why it's $27 million as to usually about 25, 26 is, remember, we've been getting some federal money, some ARPA dollars from the federal government. So that's had an effect there.
So that's actually added to the money that's coming in.
Correct. So, and if we look at tax rate or mill rate, as some people would call it, the tax rate or mill rate for the county in 2022 was $6.88 per $1,000 of assessed value. For 2023, that has gone down to $6.20. And that is now the fifth straight year of having that mill rate go down. Now, I want to be completely open and honest. The levy itself, the dollar spent, has gone up. There's inflation and the like. But what has happened is that the assessed value, the property values throughout the county, has actually risen at a higher percentage than what the levy has, which leads to the mill rate going down. But I've been very proud of what the county board has done and what our county staff has done. Currently, when we presented the budget, we have a outstanding debt at this present time of about $7 million in change, which is only a little over 5% of what our legal debt margin is. So we have a large amount of debt margin that we can use. And in 2023, later on, we will be using some of that to start to finance the new jail facility that will be coming and the construction of that. Our staffing levels are basically similar to what they've been for the last 7 years, especially from a headcount standpoint. Whether it is county staff or contracted staff, we have roughly about 160 people. In 2023, that will be 150 staff, so you have contracted folks that are, some are full-time, some are not, but about 160 bodies that work for the county. In that same respect, we have strong fund balances, and for 2023 as well, the county board approved a 4% cost of living increase for our staff. We know that inflation has continued to be at 40-year highs, and so County workers are the same. Many of our county workers are Kewaunee County taxpayers, and they're facing tight budgets just like everybody else. But a number of other folks are also seeing increases in their wages. So the board they had approved a 4% cost of living increase. So overall, I'm very pleased with the budget. We're able to address our staffing needs. We're able to address our capital needs, whether that's buildings or equipment, and we're able to do that in a fiscally responsible manner, as seen by the mill rate going down.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that always fascinates me is that so many people say, "Oh, you've got all these massive buildings, and you're doing this and you're doing that," but really, the majority of most municipalities, including, I'm sure, Kewaunee County, really goes to employees.
Correct. If you look at costs of whether that is a city, a school district, whomever else, well over half of any budget in a local government is staff. You have to have, and the reason why is because governments provide services, whether that's the sheriff's department, whether that's the plowing of roads, whether that's the handling of elections, whether it's the collecting of taxes. There has to be a person there to provide that service. And so, yes, you're absolutely right, Bob, is that the majority of costs in a government are the staff that provide those services.
So when you call and you start saying, my road hasn't been plowed yet, you want to be able to talk to somebody.
Correct, exactly.
Good. How about any new employees? Are you looking for anybody right now?
Oh, absolutely, we're looking for some folks, and one of them we'll touch base on in a little bit. But one of them that we have an opening for an administrative assistant in the Veteran Service Office. We'll be looking for another human services case manager. We're looking for some folks at the Highway Department. If any folks have their commercial driver's licenses or CDLs, we're looking for folks in the Highway Department. In that same respect, register and probate, we have a half-time position there where we're looking for someone. We're looking for the Promotion and Recreation Department. We have a Public Information Officer / Tourism Coordinator that we're looking for. And I'll touch base again on it a little bit later in the program, but we're always looking for part-time seasonal help out at Winter Park. Now that the weather's getting colder, we need folks to be able to man the tube hill, the ski hill, work inside the chalet, so that way the record, we had 16,000 visitors last year, and we need to have folks that are able to be out there and making sure that people are enjoying themselves but doing so safely.
Okay. How about changing topics a little bit here? The county jail.
Yeah.
That's obviously been passed, and how's it coming?
Well, we're on track. I'll say it that way. It was passed. The county board approved that we could start to move forward with the project late this summer, and so since that time we've been meeting with our architect and our cost estimator monthly, and we're doing it on a number of very exciting topics like floor coverings and furniture and plumbing and lighting and IT and data and roofing and those different types of things. And I'm being a little tongue-in-cheek when I say the exciting stuff, but what is very interesting is those small details are important when you're talking about a facility that is going to be estimated at over $25 million. So you want to make sure that you're picking quality carpeting or furnishings or doing things correctly, that when it's built, you don't build it and then afterwards go, oh, we made a mistake, and now you're having to spend money to correct it. Anyone in the construction industry knows that what gets to be the most expensive for people is when you change things, change orders while you're doing construction. So we want to make sure that we're working with our architect, we're working with our cost estimator and our construction manager, that all of these things move very methodically and correctly to save money. From a scheduling standpoint, we hope to have final bid documents, which is to all the different contractors. We hope to have that out by April, and then if everything, knock on fake wood, goes well, then we could hope to be moving some dirt by late fall.
Cool.
And then once that dirt is moved, we hope to have everything constructed and be open sometime by, let's say, mid-2025.
Okay. Well,
so, yes, things are going well.
Takes a while, and I'm sure that a lot of it also, you have to consider the security of a facility like that.
And that's the other part, again, that is not as well known, is that when you're doing a jail facility, or for the state, a prison, there are certain regulations that have to be adhered to that you wouldn't normally have to do in a different type of construction project. So those restrictions and those requirements do add some costs onto the project. But there's a reason for those requirements, not only for the safety of the staff, but also for the safety of the inmates themselves. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a methodical process that we need to follow, but we're doing it, and things are going well.
You're getting there.
Yep,
good.
Absolutely.
Okay. We talk to Sheriff Matt Joski once in a while, and he keeps us updated too. So
yep.
Your stories seem to mesh pretty well.
Well, Matt is a fantastic public servant, and he understands what needs to be done, not only from a security standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint. He has been a great advocate in trying to have a quality facility, but also doing it in a fiscally responsible manner.
Mm-hmm. I know he's shared that with us quite a bit.
Absolutely.
How to, use the personnel carefully that,
correct,
that will be in the new jail.
Absolutely.
Another hot topic is broadband. We're still worried about that, aren't we?
Yeah, and we always will until every house has a fiber connection, and that's always the dream. But I kind of, as for an update, and it seems like a long time ago, but it really isn't. We only started this maybe 2020, and we didn't really start in earnest until 2021. And so, to give an update as to where we are, we're working with Bug Tussle. And the project
whose name, by the way, I just love that name,
Bug Tussle.
Yes.
And so a number of folks have probably seen, maybe not Bug Tussle cars, but a variety of different people tearing up lawns, and they're seeing orange and lime green hoses kind of sticking out of the ground. That's conduit that will hold the fiber optic cables. But so we're seeing all that, and they're continuing to do that. And they'll do that until probably the ground freezes. And then once the ground freezes, because then it's difficult to dig, then what they'll start to do is they'll blow fiber through those conduit. And when I say blow fiber, I mean actually, and I'm not exactly sure how it's done, but they actually do it where they take some type and they blow the fiber through those conduits, through them. And so that will be happening shortly, because the ground will be freezing sometime soon. But Bob, as of now, we have 9 wireless towers that are operating. They're up and operating throughout the county, especially the rural areas. We have a 10th one that is planned, and that's planned near Tisch Mills. That's always been a difficult one, but we think we have a spot now for the Tisch Mills community. And when I talked about conduit, we already have, as of now, 70 miles of conduit already laid in the ground, of which there is 8 miles of fiber completed. But when it's all said and done, hopefully by the end of 2023, we will have 120 miles of middle mile fiber set out throughout the county. And again, as I've said before, this is just the beginning. We plan to do more. We want to get more out there because we really do understand the need for internet accessibility. And that's just bug tussle. I also want to mention that Cellcom, Ensight is the parent company, Cellcom, for those that have our cell phones, Cellcom did a fiber to the home project in the village of Luxembourg, and that was completed in 2022, and they're going to be doing a similar project in the village of Casco next year as well. I'm not exactly sure how long that project will take, but the village of Casco and the village of Luxembourg will then have fiber to the home. So these are all great things, and we're going to continue to push for more broadband grants, for expansion of our fiber, and to increase internet accessibility. If I can do one shout out, and I'm going to look at the camera then, is and it'll be coming out in your tax bills. There's a stuffer in your tax bills that talks about a broadband speed test. And there's a website that you can go to, a link that you can go to conduct that speed test. I urge everyone that can go to that website and conduct the speed test. And the reason why is because the federal government is going to be putting out billions with a B, billions of dollars throughout the country, and Wisconsin is slated, at least for right now, to receive over $1 billion. But part of how that money is distributed comes from how well we are being served or underserved. And we know that the maps that the federal government has put out aren't as accurate as they should be, and therefore having residents do those speed tests will help us to provide a much more accurate map. And then when we request additional grant funding, we're more likely to receive that grant funding, not only for the state, but also for our area. So that's a request that I have for all the residents if possible.
Well said. So even if you already have internet, you probably should be doing the same thing, right?
Absolutely, because just because you have service doesn't mean that it's fast service. And therefore, doing that speed test will really help us to determine where those areas are that need additional support, that need additional resources put into them. Because if you have no service, you can't do a speed test because you have no service.
That's right. Yes.
And there were plenty of folks that had talked about, well, we have service, but it's extremely slow. And so how these maps are put together, it's not as detailed as it could be, and therefore these speed tests will help to really improve the accuracy of where those dollars need to go.
Okay. Well, good. We'll look for progress on that. Are any of these new services, and you mentioned like Luxembourg and coming into Casco, are any of those connected at this point, or are we still kind of in the process of
well, and there's a little bit of a difference in that there are different providers. Bug Tussle and Cellcom are two separate providers. Could they be using the same middle mile fiber? They could be. Could they be using each of their own? They could be. The most important part is, for me as the county administrator, is that I want there to be service to these communities. To me, it doesn't matter to me whether that provider is Bug Tussle, whether that provider is AT&T or Charter Spectrum or Cellcom. I just want to have residents to be able to have the choice to be able to get good service, and not only have it be good service, but also have it be affordable.
Good. Okay. We had talked a little bit earlier about employment and all of the different people that are employed. I've heard lately that Winter Park, the ski hill, and the county park out there, and county parks in general, are a little short-handed right now.
Correct. What we've been looking at, and I know that there's been some concerns, and from a staffing standpoint, it's been difficult. Winter Park, for those that have been out there, is a absolute jewel. If you want to go ice skating, if you want to go skiing or snowboarding, if you want to go tubing, Winter Park is there. And you don't have to drive to Rib Mountain in Wausau. You don't have to drive to Titletown. You have all of that here in Kewaunee County. And because of that, just last year, as I said before, we had over 16,000 visitors come to Winter Park to do just the tubing and the skiing. Now, we've had some difficulty with staffing, which has made it difficult, that we were looking at possibly having to close the ski hill for this winter season, and we had announced that at the time. Winter Park Association has approached us and said that they will work with us to try to get the ski hill to be open this season.
Oh.
And so, but we're still going to need staff.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking for staff that work on weeknights and on weekends. It's $15 an hour. We're always looking for additional bodies to help with that. Winter Park is looking for volunteers to be able to help also to work out at Winter Park. But we've already made snow, or we've made snow. We're making more snow. We hope to have the tubing hill, open by around Christmas time, if not before. Again, knock on fake wood. Ski hill usually takes a little bit longer. That usually doesn't happen till closer to January. But it is our hope that we can get the ski hill cleaned up and we can get all the requisite staffing, that we can get the ski hill opened this season as well. So I'm really proud of Dave Myers and the staff for all the work that they've done. I'm really thankful to the association and the volunteers to help us to get that done. And that's just Winter Park. For those of you that haven't had a chance, and again, we haven't talked till January, there's some neat things even happening at Bremer Park over there just next to Winter Park. We have an elephant.
I understand.
We have an elephant. Now, okay, we don't have a live elephant.
But he's an elephant.
But it's an elephant. And it's a local artisan had done that, and he did a spectacular job. And so we have a giraffe. We now have an elephant. I would encourage folks to go down there and take a look. We're continuing to have those improvements year after year. We hope in 2023 to begin construction of our pheasant exhibit, which I've talked about in previous shows, about trying to have a variety of different species of pheasant and have that be an animal exhibit for folks to see all the different types and how some of them are extremely colorful. And so we're working on that. The Zoological Society is continuing to try to raise funds to help pay for that exhibit, as well as more improvements. So again, I encourage folks to come down to Winter Park. I encourage them to go over to Bremer Park and see the elephant. Please don't feed it. And then, so yes, things are going well.
People have always complained at the zoo. They said, don't feed the animals.
Correct.
So, here you really can't. I
Correct.
guess.
Well, and that's what, and I've had a few smart aleck folks say, hey, I'm going to bring some nuts, as in like nuts and bolts, and feed them to the animals because they're metal. And I go,
Sure.
Yeah, funny joke.
Yeah,
but we'll
funny
leave it
joke,
at that.
but keep your nuts.
So, yes,
and
keep your nuts.
bolts and things
Yes,
at
exactly.
home. Okay, all right. One topic that doesn't seem to come up too much anymore, and maybe that's a good thing, is the nuclear power plant.
Okay.
We had a history, of course, of nuclear power here in the area, in Kewaunee County, and that closed down some years ago.
What's the status on that?
Yeah.
Okay. For a history, for those that may not know, back in 2014, just a year before I came, the Kewaunee Power Plant, it was announced that they were decommissioning the plant. They were no longer going to generate power. They couldn't get the contracts that they needed, and so they were decommissioning, i.e. closing the plant. Well, the closing of a nuclear power plant through federal regulations, they're allowed 55 years to basically do the decommissioning process. And that's a long time to decommission. It was just sometime this year that Dominion Energy was selling the plant and the decommissioning fund to a firm out in Utah called Energy Solutions that does this type of work. And so Energy Solutions says that they will do the decommissioning process, but they believe they can get it done in 10 years. So the hope is that we can have that done in 10 years and that we can then try to redevelop that site. There's a large number of acres that are farmland that have always been farmland. We don't know what the intent is to do with that, whether that would be sold to the farmers that currently farm those acres, or whether something else would be done. But I am encouraged that the decommissioning process won't be 50 years, but will only be 10 years. So that's where we're at right now. All of the fuel rods are out of the reactor. They're encased in the concrete. Still waiting for some type of approval to have them be at some type of federal storage site, but they're still on site there at the Kewaunee Power Station.
Yeah, that has to be a hard job for the federal government to decide exactly where to put them to.
Correct.
I'm sure.
Most people do not want those types of things in their backyard.
Probably not.
Understandable.
No, not even next to the metal elephant.
Correct, exactly.
Okay. And I'm sure that this company that's decommissioning it, they're not doing that for free.
No.
Or on a voluntary basis.
No. Again, part of what happens is there's a payment, and with every nuclear power plant, what happens is there's a charge that ratepayers pay that goes into a decommissioning fund.
Okay.
And so what happens is that fund is then used to pay for the decommissioning of the site. So that fund will be paying Energy Solutions to decommission the site, and if there's any money left over after the decommissioning, then that money is then returned back to the ratepayers.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds good. Well, I hope they do it
Yep.
real inexpensively, but do
but
it
safely.
right.
But
yes,
safely.
I'd rather have it safely
Correct.
than cheap.
Correct.
It's always good to get a good contractor there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I can't think of anything more to talk about unless there's something that I've missed.
Well, since it is close, it's between Thanksgiving and December, I guess I just want to give a shout out of thanks to all of the county employees at the county. They've been working really hard. It's been a really tough year, even though we've gone past the pandemic. We continue to do great work, but we continue to also have more and more things, put upon us, and the workers have been taking that on and doing it well and doing it with a smile. And at times we're not always the most appreciated, but I just want to say thank you to those folks. And I could even extend that out to all local government, because as we're seeing as the years go by, we're having fewer and fewer people have trust in their local government. And I guess what I'd like to say is, those people that work at local government, those are your neighbors. Those are the parents those are your soccer coaches and your baseball coaches and your wrestling coaches. They're the folks that you see in the grocery store. And I guess I would just want folks to be appreciative of the work that they do, and every once in a while just say thank you. So,
Yeah.
and with that as well, because we're just, about 3 weeks before Christmas, I just want to wish you and everyone else thanks as well. Plus, I will give a shout out to Al Reinhardt, who helps always to put this together, and Amber, who's sitting in the booth back there as well, making sure this all goes well. So
Yes.
happy holidays to everybody.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for being our guest today.
Not a problem. Always
Appreciate
a joy.
it. Thank you. We've been speaking today with Scott Feldt, who's the Kewaunee County Administrator, And that's going to do it for our show for today. We wish you, as Scott said, a very happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all that good stuff. And that's going to do it for this edition of Your City, Your County. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Have a good holiday. Bye-bye.